Happy New Year, Sam.
Oh my goodness, Kate, 2025 at last.
At last, yes, you and I are two people who are very happy to see the end of 2024. And I've heard there's lots of other people out there who feel the same.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what you believe in, whether like you're a very woo-woo, like zodiac universe, no matter what, I think that there is an undercurrent everywhere of thank goodness we've shut the door on that year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I definitely feel that way. And
Yeah.
my final email that I put out to my database was, I think the title was Finding Meaning in a Year of Endings. So for me, 2024 is about ending a lot of things that weren't serving me.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to sort of talk more openly about the fact that I'm coming out of a marriage breakdown and going through divorce, which has been huge. And I feel emotional actually just talking about it now. I could feel the tears rising, but it's been very, very hard 3 years. Um, or probably 5 years, but the hardest has been sort of the last three, coming to the decision that this is what we need to do, working through, and then finally this month getting to a point where we have an agreement that to go forward in separate ways. So, oh, that was huge.
Are the tears, is it grief? Do you feel like it's grief at this point?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of grieving because I never like when you t say your vows when you get married, you never imagine that because you mean it in that moment,
You
that.
do. Yeah, absolutely, you do.
And yeah, it's just not all couples are able to, well, we lost each other and just weren't able to find our way back.
Mm,
So yeah, I'm grieving that loss and also the breakdown of the family unit.
yeah.
I have two boys, 10 and 13, and just grieving, we just had a long weekend, but I didn't spend it with them. And just, yeah, that's really hard as a
Yeah.
Yeah, so just getting used to this new way of living, having half the time with my children and half the time without them. I still find that really difficult. Mm.
Yes. And particularly the ages that they're moving into those years where they're going to start spending less time with you as a parent anyway, because, their social lives are going to amp up and they're going to need you less for socialization. So,
That's right. Yeah, even this holiday, my 13-year-old has been spending most of it with his mates. And
yeah.
yeah, sometimes they're here at my place and then yeah, and other times, yeah, I don't see him all day. So yeah, it's a lot
I
of.
think as a mum, I think that was the hardest thing to grapple was that all the effort you make to raise human beings that can be independent and go off and you want them to have friends and have that social life and you want them to go off to university and live a really happy life, but at the same time it's really hard to let them go.
Yes, and you
Really
know,
hard.
you know that intimately because your oldest is, how old is she now?
Oh, 27,
Yeah. And your next one.
25 and 23 and 19 and and part of what we'll catch up on today, or there's even a story there with my 19-year-old, but let's keep going with your story because you're
Yeah,
going through a lot right now and making
yeah.
progress, but it's still hard.
Yeah, but I think because we've come out of the hardest part, which was last year, I think was by far the hardest because we were still living under the same roof up until March.
Mm.
And then we started living separately from March onwards, and that was just a whole sort of emotion, like terribly heartbreaking, emotional upheaval and then trying to run a business in the meantime and live on my own and deal with kids that are having to go, from one house to the other every week. And so, yeah, last year was just tough on so many fronts. And I let go of also a project that I had been supporting. It was a tech startup. I'd invested a lot of time, but also a lot of personal funds. I think I'd invested about $10,000 into this tech startup because I really believed in it and I thought we had, the ingredients to make it work. But unfortunately, um, let's just say some not good decisions were made without the input of the team and put the whole project into massive debt
Oh,
without an ability to service the debt, and then put massive pressure on the team, and the whole thing sort of self-imploded. And I walked away thinking again, having invested massive amounts of time and money into something that I believed in, that didn't work out. So that was another heartbreaking exercise. And
mm,
yeah, but so many lessons in there. And I feel like I'm emerging from this heavy fog, and my children went back to the Netherlands with their dad over Christmas. So I had 3 weeks by myself, which
wow.
has not happened since they were born. So for at least 13 years. And having that break was just so good for my nervous system to sort of reset, and having no demands on my time. I mean, I miss them terribly. Not spending Christmas with them felt really strange and awful, but at the same time, it was nice and relaxed because I was with my dad and my brother and his girlfriend, and it was very small and very relaxing. So it's exactly what I needed. And for the first time in, I think, about 3 years, I had the headspace to think about planning for my business this year.
That's
And
exciting.
yeah, and I think that's what we're going to talk about today, because you've got some really exciting changes in the
Mm,
as well. And I thought it would be interesting to take our listeners behind the scenes to what it looks like to do business planning. If
yes.
I'm sure everyone has their own version of it, but you and I over the years have tried lots of different things, and some things work and others don't. And I've found a system now that really works for me. And I've already found on New Year's Eve, I went down to the river, which was beautiful, and I took a bottle of champagne. I don't normally drink on my own. I was in that kind of mood where I'm like, damn it, I am going to celebrate the end of this effing year. I'm going to
Yes.
sit here with my champagne watching. I was looking out over Matilda Bay. I don't know if any listeners know Perth, but it's a beautiful, peaceful spot, and black swans floating and boats, tottering in the water. And I just sat there and I thought, what do I want this year? And I started getting some clarity, and just did a brain dump. And I really got clear on some of the things we talked about in Bali, Sam, which were,
Yes.
I think I want to move. I still always want to do one-to-one coaching for those that I know I can help, but moving more into the consultant space and public speaking. And so, and just getting that clarity. Then I met with a friend a couple of weeks later, and we met at a pub in Freo, and we sat and shared our goals and talked about it, talked about and challenged each other, and we got clear on some sort of the broad lines of what a plan would feel like. Because my word for this year, last year's word, I'm sure lots of people like to have a word for the year. Um, and my word for last year was resolve. It was just resolve all the stuff that's hanging around. That's not. And then I needed a lot of resolve to get through all that. But this year, I'm tired of sort of that resolve energy. And my word this year is joyful expansion. Well, it's 2 words, but
Oh, that sounds exciting.
yeah, and I originally it was expansion, and I was talking to one of the girls in my mastermind group, and she, I'm always preaching about how if it doesn't feel joyful, if it feels heavy, it's not, a good goal. It's got to
Yes.
feel joyful. And she said, don't you need to put the word joyful in front of that? And I thought, yes, I do, because you and I are of the era where if you don't work your butt off, you don't get anywhere. That was the messaging we sort of grew up.
Mm,
And whereas the actual magic happens when you let go and allow the magic and synchronicities to flow in, and you're not pushing and forcing so hard. So
yeah.
when it's joyful, it seems to have a whole life of its own, and magical things happen.
Mm.
So if you had a word for last year, what would it be, Sam?
Oh, I did have a word for last year, And it's interesting that you pick the word at the start of the year, and then when you reflect on that word for the year, sometimes it's like,
That didn't happen.
I thought of it this way and it came at me another way.
I know.
So
In
my
terms
word for last year was revolution.
Ooh.
But thinking about revolution in terms of change, but what I got was revolution in terms of what felt like one battle after another.
Yeah.
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 So we have to be careful with the words. Now, that's why it's very good that you've got joyful at the start of yours because you need to be
Yes.
really clear, don't you?
You do have to be really clear and just the power of that intention. Getting, I feel like the last few years I've just rolled from one year into the next. I've been so busy with kids and holidays and school book lists and and trying to keep the business going and and that I haven't really had that space to do proper business planning. But the power of it, I just can't understate to listeners the power of even just thinking it, let alone getting it on
Mm.
paper. But all of a sudden, these opportunities have opened up. So I got really clear about the consulting piece. So I reached out to a guy who said, "Oh, I might have a gig coming up in February that you'd be perfect for." And
Wow.
yeah, and then I reached out to another guy and he's like, I need people to help me deliver this work for this company. Would you be available? And suddenly it's like, wow, all these opportunities just, coming to me because I got clear that's what I wanted.
Amazing.
Yeah, and not from a I need it point of view, but I want to do that work because I'm really good at it.
Yes.
I love it. So that's what I'd say to everyone listening is what do you really want? What would be joyful for you? And not just what do you think you can make money from? Because that's what I've done the last 3 years. The one-on-one coaching, while I love it, it's what I know I can make money from. So it's sort of the safety zone, the comfort
Yeah.
zone. But if you really want to grow and expand, you've got to lean into what you love doing, what you really want to do. And you might be surprised that those opportunities start opening up.
Mm.
But revolution, okay, so yeah, you weren't clear that it needed to, you got a revolution, but in ways that you didn't
Yes.
necessarily want. But
I
then
just I should have said not like the French Revolution, please.
that's true,
You know,
that was,
I do love Les Mis, they're one of my favorite musicals, but I do not need
there's a
to
reason it's called Les Miserables.
I need a different musical.
Right. Oh, that's funny.
Oh,
Yeah,
dear.
so what about your word for this year? Have you,
Oh, it's a good question, and I don't have one yet, but it's I've found it very interesting in the contemplation I've had over the last few weeks with, having some downtime from Zoom calls and things like that, that there's something there's something inside that's developing and growing. And I don't quite know what it is, but I feel a lot more powerful this year. And I feel a lot stronger to be able to stand up and say, hey, I'm really good at this thing and I can help you with it. And I
Mhm.
don't feel like I've had that really deep confidence before. And I don't quite know where it's coming from, but it's coming.
It's interesting you say that because I've had the same.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, and whether or not it's just taken us this long to, because you and I met, was it 2019?
About then, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, whether it's taken this long to sort of prove to ourselves or or acknowledge or recognize. But I've been feeling that same strength, I think, that you're talking about, where it's like, no, damn it, I'm really good at this stuff. And I, people,
Yeah.
there's certain people that need what I could do. And whereas that confidence was definitely not there in the beginning when you and I started out
Oh
together in the
God, no.
coaching franchise, and then we branched out on our own. And then I think when there's a lot of fear when you branch out on your own.
Mm.
If you don't have that real strength and resolve, um, or what did you call it? Quiet self-confidence or
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Just the deep
deep
confidence,
confidence.
because it's one thing to be outwardly confident, but to have that confidence sitting inside where it really needs to be, that's a different ball game, I think.
Yes. And so,
Where that's where it's like, you're walking into a room and other people feel it without you having to speak, that kind of inner strength. That's what's
exactly.
coming this year.
Woohoo! Well, bring it on. So I definitely feel the same. And I guess I'd like to say to anyone who's listening who does not feel that deep confidence yet, it will come. Just stick to it, right? Because there's been so many times when I've gone on to Seek and thought, screw it, I'm just going to get a job. This is all too hard. And, and
Yeah.
yeah, and it takes time to get that real inner knowing that no, this is what I need to be doing. I'm really good at it. I deserve to be paid well, and I'm going to make good money doing this. And
Mm.
that self, like you said, people feel that, and it has a magnetic attraction to it.
It does, it does. And Kate, I'm gonna throw back because I feel like a lot of this inner growth, um, that seed was planted at your retreat.
Mm. Oh, amazing.
So I have to ask now at this point because it's 6 months later. What are your feelings like or do you have plans to do a retreat again this year?
No, no.
That's not the answer we want.
Oh, really? I'll
Maybe
tell you
you and
what.
I need to do a retreat.
Oh, well, I could be convinced.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just I turned 50 this year. And so
Mhm.
and last year I didn't feel it was successful in my um I think it came at a time when I was in a really deep point with the divorce
Yes.
and everything. So I didn't feel like it, we had a couple of personalities that disrupted the group, and I didn't feel that I had the resources to manage that really well. And some of the feedback was amazing, but some, was, as people had different expectations. And I just came out of that thinking, oh, I the amount of effort I had to put in for the return was just way too
Yeah.
high. Yeah. And so I
Yeah.
just gave myself permission to say, I'm not doing it this year.
Well,
But
and look, that's exactly what you're allowed to do. But I do feel like there were seeds planted, and yeah, I know there were elements of it that felt a little bit hectic. Um, and I can't even imagine what it would have been like in your shoes as the person who organized it. But I'm in standing now and reflecting on it, I can see how, in whatever sort of entity out there was throwing us all into this space in the way that it happened. There's been so much growth, and not just from me, but from, like from others that I've connected with, that it wasn't necessarily apparent at the time what we were getting.
yeah,
I think I
yeah.
want to acknowledge to you that, that ball, is still rolling.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, that's made my day. And I'm sitting here, those that are listening in won't be able to see Sam's new branding, but I'm looking at her background, which is her new branding for the Familionaire Society. And it's this gorgeous gold and black bar with, it's just, when you look at it, it's got a feeling of luxury and wealth and style and class.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Uh,
and the new logo with the key that's got the beauty, it looks very traditional, but
mm,
it's got power. It's got FS in it for Millionaire Society, and it's this
yes,
beautiful traditional old key that is golden and unlocks.
yes. We unlock potential, Kate.
Yeah. So just looking at you sitting with this background, it's like, wow, Sam has leveled up.
Yes, yes, we did go for a rebrand and we had a really good think about what we were trying to do. And I'll be honest in sharing that we have gone through quite a period of time where we felt really unsure of what exactly we were delivering,
Mm.
and there's so much focus on getting your marketing and your messaging right. And it's really easy to do it for other people, Kate, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
when you have to turn that back on yourself and try and articulate what it is you're doing and what you're delivering, we struggled with that for a long time.
Hmm.
So we decided we were going to throw everything out the window and start again.
Which I think, when that's the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. And we've leaned into the 1920s Gatsby
That's what it is.
vibe.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And we call our little meetings like a speakeasy because the definition of the original speakeasy was a place for people to connect
And
and be
speak
their true
easy.
authentic selves because it was all behind closed doors and people could be who they really are. So not so much about hiding ourselves away, but just offering a place where people can be who they are without having to apologize or having to fit into a particular, have a different label. I joke around and say you've got to check your labels in at the coat check on the way through the door kind of thing
Mm.
because here you're just going to be you.
Which is great, but it's in a classy environment which
Mm.
sets you at a certain vibe, a certain frequency, that where
Yeah.
yeah, elevates your thinking. So I love that. It's private, it's safe, but it's classy and it's challenging your mindset to and
Yes.
yeah, to help you think abundantly. And yeah, I love it. So
Yeah.
for those that haven't seen it, jump onto Facebook and go to Femetis, which is Femetis.
Well, on Facebook we are familionaire.society.
Oh, okay. So Facebook /Familionaire
Yeah.
Society. That's the page or group.
Yeah.
Is that the group or a
Yeah.
business?
We'll drop links. We'll
Yeah.
drop links.
Yeah,
But
and you'll see the new branding, but it's very classy. So,
yeah. And classy without being like you don't need to already be rich to be part of the community because it's not it's about let's help each other make money, but it's not about being a place that only the wealthy can afford to get into, which is
yeah,
what a lot of programs are.
right. Yeah. No, it's yeah, aspirational and supportive, but also results focused. And yeah,
Yes,
this is the,
yes,
and as we said, that power of intention is huge. Just,
yeah.
yeah, if that's your expectation, it's quite amazing what happens.
Mm.
Yeah, so maybe we take listeners behind the scenes to business planning and what it looks like for both of us and how that process
Yes.
works. And because I've over the years changed my business planning a lot. So where should we start? Do you want to share yours?
Mm.
Or I share mine?
Yeah. Oh, look, Kate, for so many years, it's always been business planning has always been okay, it's business, you've got to make money. What's the revenue target? And let's reverse engineer that. I've
Right.
done that for so many years and failed time and time again
Hmm.
to reach targets, and I heard something really, really impactful just before Christmas, and things are always put in your way for a reason. And what I heard was it was about goal setting, and it was a different way of setting goals, and it was setting goals around feelings that you wanted to have.
Yeah,
And then it's like, okay, if I want to feel this way every day, what do I need to do in order to get that feeling?
yeah, which is what we did in Bali as well, isn't it?
Well, yes, yes. And
Mm.
see, all of the signposts have been there. That's what I said. Like Bali was like the planting of the seed, and it's been
Mhm.
nurtured by outside influences.
Yeah, good.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, as much as I want to make money as like the next person does, I don't want to feel constantly like I have to strive towards a particular revenue
Yeah.
to feel good about what I'm doing in business.
No, and that has been sort of proven in, um, what's the word, personal growth circles, is that um, you have to feel something before it can manifest in your physical environment. So it's
Mm.
not that you start earning that money and then you'll feel good. It's like you have to feel good now in order to bring in when you feel good, all the things that you want will come because um, it's the law of attraction thing, isn't it? Which
It is.
now
Yeah.
being sort of proven in scientific methods through quantum physics and so on. You have to be the thing you want to attract in order to bring it in.
Mm.
Yeah. as
I
a
know when you explained all of that on the in the retreat, that was part of our training, but it just took me a little bit longer to get there.
Oh no, that's all right. No, but it's a I mean, and we used to teach that back in, Fempire days as well. I remember teaching it. And but sometimes it takes years for myself as well for it to actually make sense and for you to actually embody it as a way
Yeah.
of being. Like you can understand
I'd
something
forgotten
that
that was part of Empire. It
yeah.
was too. I had no idea what it was all about.
Oh, well, I put it into our workbook, yeah, as one of the pages in
Yes, yes, I
the
remember. I remember it being a part of it.
yeah, but I think
Obviously,
no, but
like
it's
I
that
said, it just took me a while.
you can understand something intellectually, and even me. I mean, I created that diagram, but I wasn't living it at the
No.
time. There's a difference between understanding intellectually and embodying something and living it. Yeah.
Mhm.
You and I both getting to the point where we're like, oh, now I get it. Now,
Yes, I know. And don't you just feel like, oh, how was I? Why didn't I get this sooner? But
yeah.
you're not meant to. And because the other
No.
thing too about goal setting was, it was a podcast I was listening to, and in that same podcast, the person that was talking about goal setting was also uh, gave me the permission that I needed to release myself from time-bound goals because for so long we were all about the SMART goals.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think I ever achieved any of them. None.
Yeah. Yeah. And because there's a certain element of letting go and trusting that things will unfold how they're meant to for your highest growth. So the times when I really let go are when the magic happens.
Yes.
Yeah, so last November when I was getting into an anxious cycle and then I just threw it I just threw my hands up in the air and said, that's it. I let go and I surrender. The anxiety is, and it's not the first time I've been in that place. It's where the fear is so strong that all you can do is let go and trust that things
Mm.
are going to work out. And when I did that, I said, that's it, universe. I let go and I allow you to step in, or, I'm open to whatever's, next for me. And then I got the job in Darwin, which was just one email landing in my inbox. I reached out to this lady. She said, yep, let's jump on a Zoom. Next thing, I'm flying to Darwin to run a 2-day workshop for a not-for-profit Indigenous company up there, which was amazing. And I had so much fun and I loved it. And it reminded me how much I love facilitating and working with teams. And so that joyful bit then, is what translated into my business intentions for this year, which then has opened more opportunities. So,
Mm.
yeah, I think those revenue goals and timelines can be really constraining
They
because they,
can. Yeah. I think too, because when you start thinking in terms of, okay, I've got to achieve this revenue, I've got to figure out how I'm going to do that, and it's all part of the reverse engineering. And then you lock yourself into a pathway of, okay, now I've got to focus, and because they were all supposed to focus on one thing and do one thing at a time. And so then we lock ourselves into a pathway. But the problem with that is that the pathway we lock ourselves into isn't necessarily the pathway that's going to get us there. And you close yourself, like you said, Kate, look, all these opportunities are coming in
because I
because you've
let
opened
go.
yourself up to it.
Yes. Yeah. So I know it's counterintuitive for traditional business planning, but I think
We're
it's a
not doing it like that anymore.
no. And I think it's exactly what you said. Get clear on how you want to feel.
Yeah.
And so, how I felt when I was in that workshop, I felt competent, I felt strong, I felt valuable, I felt alive because these people were amazing, and the conversations we had were amazing, and they're so passionate and they're so good at what they do, and supporting them just felt so good, and knowing that it was having an impact. And so, those are the feelings where
Mm.
in my plan now, I've got certain things because I have experienced, as we talked about, the power of intention at opening up doorways. So you do have to have some clarity.
Mm.
And I want to do these things because they make me feel this way. and then trusting that the opportunities and the synchronicities open up.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes, yeah, you do need some parameters around how you achieve
yeah.
feeling those ways every day.
Yeah, and I've got a revenue goal, and it's a goal that feels, if I could achieve that, like, just that number feels so good to me.
Yeah,
It's double what I earned last year, so it's a stretch.
great goal.
But I feel like, what is it? Because 10x would say, oh, that's just, 2x is boring and ineffective. But it's used, but I am using the 10x mindset to stretch out of my comfort zone. But it feels that number, it's, the 10x author, is it Dan McMillan? Can't remember his name, but he would say, oh, why only double? But that, if I could achieve that number, it would feel so good. And so I'm happy with that. If I stretch that number, it starts to feel impossible, or not impossible, but it starts to feel unrealistic, given,
Mm.
what's going on being a mum and all the other things. And so you can limit yourself by having the disbelief around it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I think
So could you reframe that revenue goal as in like
this or something better, or
that's my next stepping stone, rather than that's what I want to do for the year. I'd like that's my next revenue goal,
yeah.
and then with the intention that once you reach that, the next one's going to be higher.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we do put too much pressure on ourselves every year, because there's only so much you can do in a year. You could do a lot, but sometimes these big, goals we put on ourselves, they can take
I
5
know.
years.
I know. Yeah, I this conversation would probably sound familiar to you, Kate. Client comes to you, they've got a revenue goal of six figures in their first year doing one-on-one coaching. Okay, how much do you charge an hour? Okay, that means you need to see X amount of clients every week. Oh, yeah, that's fine because I've got 30 hours a week. I can service 30 clients a week. You're not factoring in marketing and all of the downtime that you need between clients because you've got to prep for them, and like there is so much more that goes into it. And I'm like, straight away, I'm like, such an unrealistic goal.
And let
Six
alone
figures for a coaching business is not unrealistic, but the way you're laying
the
that
time
pathway to
frame.
six figures, it's an impossible task that you're not going to be able to achieve. Not given that you've constrained yourself to 38 hours, to 30 hours a week
Yeah, yeah. And that
at
might,
that price point.
yeah, it's those unrealistic expectations, and let alone what it takes to attract those 30 customers a week, or the marketing you have to have in place.
Yeah,
And
I know, because you need the 30 right now. It might take you 9 months to build up to that point. Again, your revenue goal is not going to be achieved. So, yes,
yeah,
we've got to stop locking ourselves away. Reverse engineering is really good, but I think people are attaching themselves too much to, like I say, you reverse engineer it down to how many clients at what price point. But people are forgetting about all of the stuff that goes on around you
uh-huh.
that impact, what if you're sick one week?
Yeah,
What happens to your revenue goal then? Because you didn't factor that in. You
yeah.
know, like there's lots that goes on in our lives.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it depends where they are, whether they have an established reputation, because a reputation
Mhm.
can take years to build, that to the point where people trust you. Actually, in our last podcast episode that we did before Christmas, Sam, with Matthew Wyatt, his quote, and he's a tech entrepreneur, helps tech companies scale through online marketing and sales systems. And his quote was, your business can only grow at the rate at which you can transfer trust.
Mm, yes.
And so if you're a coach, a new coach starting out, and you're not able to transfer that trust quickly to the point where someone says, wow, I need to see you, book me in, then yeah, that process can take years, because you have to build social proof around Google reviews and Facebook reviews, and you have to build a brand and good messaging and good service packages and get the runs on the board. If they've been working for another clinic and they're stepping out independently, that's different, because they've got the social proof and they've got the track record. But if you're someone who's starting out, as a coach there's a whole journey you've got to go through to be able to transfer trust, to be able to demonstrate credibility and trust.
Yeah.
It takes years, as we know from helping lots of startup coaches and right.
I'm reminded, like many, many years ago when I first started coaching netball, and I was having a conversation with another coach who had never been a player, but she was a fantastic coach. Man, she got results for the team she coached. And I was talking to her one day, and I'm reminded of that conversation now because um, the old saying that, like just because you know how to play the game doesn't mean you know how to coach the game. And I think we need to remember that just because you've got a successful business doesn't mean you'll be able to coach other people to do the same thing that you did.
Right. Yeah. 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 So that's exactly right. Yeah. Anyway, unrealistic expectations is the killer of
Mm,
so many businesses that we've seen over the years, isn't it?
yes.
And then they get deflated, as you say, when you don't reach that goal that you had in mind for yourself, you get deflated and give up.
Mm,
Whereas if you've been a bit more realistic and just say, I want to feel like this by the end of this year. I want to feel like I've made really solid progress, like I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing, like I'm helping people, like I'm valued for the time I put in. I'm building a legacy. I'm building something that's going to serve my lifestyle now and into the future. They're much more realistic and empowering, expectations, and then be open to, I'm open to this being delivered in whatever way it is meant to come to me,
yes.
but still taking that inspired action every day and moving along. And yeah. So I can share, if it helps, how I've approached my business planning this year. And it's
Yes.
a lot of thanks to Matt Church from the Thought Leader Institute,
Yes.
which
We love that.
we love that. We've had him on the show. And so, yeah, if you're interested, it might help to, you can go back through our episodes, and we're up to episode 4. This is episode 47, I think, Sam.
Oh, go us. Most
Yeah.
podcasts never make it past 10.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We were in the top 1% when we got 1,000 downloads or something like that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, so he was a guest. I think it would have been somewhere around episode 15, something like that. But
Mm,
scroll back, you'll see Matt Church, and we talk about the thought leader process. And that has been game changing for me because it liberates you from this whole idea that you have to have one target market and one message and one method of delivery. So, when I pull up now my business planning, I do it in a spreadsheet now, Google Sheets, because I just find that easy. And I make, how many rows have I got? I've got 6 rows this year. So 6 different, you could call them clusters.
yes.
So each cluster is one market, um, with one message and one method of delivery. So, and then with those clusters, I've got how those clusters make me feel, because you've got to have that sort of joyful, I'm doing this because I love it and it makes me feel good. And I know that sounds really woo-woo to those who might be listening that are very left brain scientifically based, but both Sam and I are very left brain by background. So I was an
Mhm.
engineer, Sam was in the Navy. So there's nothing woo-woo. I think it's just we've come to realize that the power of the mind is, something we underestimated until now.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, getting really clear on how you want to feel, and doing things that actually make you come alive, because that's when the magic happens, as we've said. So yeah, this year was different because I've got these 6 clusters. Each one of them, if I am working on those, I haven't got timelines. I've just said by the end of the year, these are the things I want to achieve. And I have got some rough revenue goals in there, just because I need, you do need a guidepost to figure out how much money do I want to make.
Mm.
And again, it's not what do I need, because that's coming from a place of lack, and energetically that makes a difference. There's so many books on this subject now that that prove the concept of manifesting, I suppose you could call it, or creating what you want. And it all comes from magic happens when you are doing things that you want to do, not because you need to or have to, but this excites you to do this thing. So yeah, I've got these 6 clusters. One of them includes it's for not-for-profits and small to medium enterprises, and it's the message is you need to plan strategically for success. The method is a 1 or 2 day full workshop. The goal is to deliver at least 2 per month at 3K each. When I run those workshops, I feel, as I said before, strong, competent, valued, alive, happy, powerful, and then it could generate potentially 60K revenue from that one cluster. And then I've got some organizational coaching with this other colleague who's this opportunity has come up, which is all emotional intelligence work, which I love, as you know. I trained in a system called the Harrison Assessment years ago. It's basically just helping people recognize their blind spots and their strengths, and then working with them and their team members. So that opportunity has come up to do some of that work. Then I'm going to write my first business book this year.
Do you have a topic?
Yes. Working title is Against the Odds.
Yes.
How to start and grow an enduring and profitable business from the ground up. I've got my Business Builder's Handbook, which is an ebook that I offer to people with checklists and things that you need to do in each phase. But I want to bring in some case studies and stories and my personal experience with growing business. Yeah, and make that a resource that is really helpful to people. So that feels really exciting to do. And what else? And then I've got a book anthology that I'm working on with Athena Daniels, who's the book coach. We want to invite business owners. It's called Backstage Pass to Business. We want to invite business owners to submit their stories of what it's actually like to grow a business. And then I've got one on one-to-one coaching, which I still love, and launching an online course, which will be my book broken down into a self-study thing that people can follow.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it feels good. And I sort of roughly have in mind the timing and how I'm going to roll that out. But now I'm just like, right, universe, and it's got my number there, which feels really good. This is what I want. So now I'm going to let go and let you bring it to me.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's time to, emerge from the fog and really just start thriving again, because it's been a long time coming. And so, Sam, what about you? Because you're sitting in your gorgeous new branding. What's on the cards for this year?
Oh my goodness. So we have decided that, look, we do have a plan. We have done a little bit of planning for the year. We have chosen a book each month, and our business is going to center on the main theme of that book. And this is something that I've talked about doing for quite some time and never actually done it. So, for example, January, we decided that we were going to focus on the book The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes.
Oh,
Because why not kick the year off with, let's put out into the universe, what can we say yes to?
yes.
And we have the whole year mapped out of, what book are we going to focus on and what lessons are we pulling and what are we going to, how are we going to make those lessons part of our life and part of our business. So that is kind of one plan for this year to let those books
And
guide
this is
us.
for the Familionaire Society, which is a group program that ladies can join, and it's like a container for them to get support to grow their business, and their coaches.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, look, we have realized, and this is a little bit fun, we think. We have realized that we don't actually have straight up coaches. We attract the women who have this kind of business that, and this is thought leaders without being thought leaders, but they have businesses that have different arms to it. And all the coaching programs that they go to say, well, no, you've just got to be one thing and you've got to wear this label on you and all of that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
we said, no, no, you don't have to do it like that. So they're women that have been in coaching programs to learn how to be a coach, but they never really felt like a traditional coach. So they were always, the square peg trying to fit into a round hole. So we've sort of said, if you don't feel like you fit in anywhere else, that's good because you're probably the perfect match for us.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to tell you you have to be anything in particular except for you.
And I just find the thought leaders' approach to that, having clusters, so freeing and so liberating that,
Yeah.
yeah, because we are multifaceted, and who wants to be stuck delivering one product all the time or to one market even,
And
like,
especially when and this is another thing, like we've got clients that have been in business for few years and they've been flogging the dead horse.
yeah,
The one thing, I think people have twisted that and made it a bad thing for business now. So we're helping them to sort of uncover what makes them joyful, Kate.
yes,
What do they really love doing?
back to
Forget
that.
about what someone told you you should be doing. What do you actually genuinely love doing? And
Yeah,
let's help you do that.
yeah,
Keep it
beautiful.
nice and simple.
Yeah.
But yes, so we're trying to call out to all the ladies that feel like they're, you know, not getting anywhere and not fitting in and all the knots.
Mm.
But that too, like I know personally that I feel like it's success, it's a success. I can't even talk now. Success every time somebody has that pivot or somebody has that realization that if they just step half a step sideways, they're going to have a totally different business and they're going to actually be really, really happy. And, and then the next week they show up and they say, oh, well, I actually mentioned it to a few people and now I've got like 30 women that want to book with me. And when things like that happen, that's the feeling that I want every day in business. So
Absolutely. I love
that's a goal.
Yeah. Beautiful. So, the Familiar Society is your focus for this year to really grow that and do it well?
It is, yes. Yes, I think I have one of the things that I've really learned about myself is that I love being creative.
Mm.
And as much as I love working with people, I desperately need that time where I'm like not helping someone else and I can just, free float around being creative in Canva or, you know, playing around with a new AI tool or whatever it is. That's fun to me. And if I don't make time for that, if I try and make the whole business around revenue generation and working with clients, um, I end up miserable.
Mm. Yeah.
So the energy that I bring when I am with clients is now quite different because I've got it. I'm
Mm.
not feeling drained.
It's so important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want the feelings that I want to have around business is I want to have energy and I want to feel like my brain's awake.
Yeah.
Because when you get fatigued, that's when your brain starts to struggle. And when you're sitting in front of somebody who's lost and your brain's foggy and your brain's swimming around looking for
Oh,
answers as
it's
well,
not
that's a
helpful.
terrible session to have.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't want to be showing up like that.
no. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, like I love it when I come out of a session and I'm like, oh, gee, I was on fire today, like, and everything just fell into place. And as soon as they said something, I knew the answer that was right for them. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's magical when that happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And the goal that you had in Bali to do more consulting work around systems and automation, does that still feel exciting or not so much?
Yeah, I actually did dive into that a little bit and I was doing one-on-one work and things like that. Um, I don't know. I don't know if that's where I need to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know I love that stuff, but again, I think I'm on this repeating pattern of I don't think that one-on-one work is for me.
Mm.
And to me, that says that there's got to be something bigger out there. Because if I'm not doing one person at a time, I'm doing multiple people at a time.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, and women thrive in community and having those spaces to get that support is much, it's needed. Yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah. And it doesn't, Kate, it doesn't come from a place of like I don't feel the need to stand up in front of people and have all the attention
mm,
on me.
mm,
I think this was something that I found out at the retreat was that I do like the facilitation where I will sort of create a space where other people can contribute
mhm. That's right.
because I really love collaborative learning and I love brainstorming, and even way back when, Kate, brainstorming was a thing for me. If I can be in on a brainstorming session with a group of people that's really creative and where you're allowed to just, like go with the flow of wherever the ideas are going, that's my favorite thing.
Mhm.
I should be leading incubators or something like that.
Yeah. You kind of are with Familiar Society.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You're creating this space and the
Yeah.
incubation sort of concept, so
Yeah.
yeah, you're doing it. And I think that would be the lesson or the message to all of our listeners would be, what is it that you love doing? And trust that when you do that thing, new opportunities open up. And I think it's about knowing your strengths, like you said,
Mm.
knowing what you're really good at, what you're not so good at, and just really leaning into those strengths and making sure you focus on doing work that fully leverages your strengths, and
Yeah.
then doing what feels good,
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
what you think you should do because some business coach or someone has told you that you have to do ABC, you have to find a niche and stick there and do your whole website around that one niche. And yeah, like having Matt Church explain the umbrella concept, that you are this person that has all these skills, and out of that comes these different ways you can work with people, but to just limit yourself to one thing is really constraining.
Mm. I think too, like that lends itself to the alter ego as well, and the concept that we're multifaceted personalities with multiple interests. So trying to funnel ourselves into just one thing is really limiting. And I think that has a limited life. And I think that's why as women, like in particular, because the way that of society and our lives are structured, our capacity to open up that umbrella
Mm.
feels limited. But if we don't, then we burn out. And you've experienced that, Kate.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
burnout from not being all of who you could potentially be.
That's right. It drains the life force out of you.
Mm.
Yep. So, yeah, I hope this has been helpful to people thinking about business planning, but I'd really even make the business planning fun. I mean, I had a great time with my bottle of champagne.
Yeah,
Not saying that's
yeah,
the, method that would be recommended out there, but whatever you need to do in the moment that brings joy and relaxation and allow, yourself to just really think about, oh, what do I want to do? Not
mm,
not what do I need to do, but what would feel really exciting if I could do this year?
yeah,
And yeah, and then just allowing yourself to want that and trust that. Just keep taking those little actions. Okay, well, what's one thing I could do today to progress that thing? Who could I reach out to? Who could I connect with? And um, yeah, I'm just finding it's not even the end of January, and I've already had two amazing opportunities come up simply because I got clear that that's what I want.
yeah, yeah.
And I,
Yes, I know straight out of the gate, I'm already booked to facilitate workshops and things like that for the year. So
great. Well, who's that with?
that's just with councils.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
I like doing those because it's the local small business owners come in
yeah.
and God love them, but they haven't had an awful lot of support, and
Yeah.
so I do like doing the council work.
Yeah, we can add massive value.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, I hope, well, that's amazing, Sam. So, Familiar Society is on fire and you've got your
yes,
council workshops locked in and yeah.
yeah,
Let's hope that both of us, we've got to wrap up this episode since we're coming to the end, but
yeah.
is there any final words you want to say?
Oh, look, I'm just excited about the year, Kate.
Mm.
I just there is something brewing, and I don't even know exactly what it is. I just know it's going to be good.
Yay! That's very exciting. Well, yeah, we'll come back and listen to this episode next year and see how far we've
We
come.
will.
That's another thing that we did. I got my mastermind group to do. We all wrote a letter to ourselves at the end of December 25.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah,
I
because we
love
did
that
it
idea.
last year, and the majority of us, myself included, didn't actually do it because I was in the middle of, a pile of horrible stuff at the time. But a couple of the girls in the group did do the letter, and they had amazing years.
Yes.
One of them really expanded, and she said, when I look back at my letter, she said, I achieved all of everything I wanted to achieve in the first 3 months of the year.
Mm,
And so that would be my message is, yeah, have a think about, imagine yourself in 11 months' time and what would feel really cool to have achieved or
mm,
done personally, professionally, and write yourself a letter and just say, hey, I'm so proud of you for doing X, Y, Z, and you've grown in these ways. And that, yes, I'd say and it doesn't take long. I think it took me 20 minutes to just jot down some notes and put it in a bit of a letter.
yeah.
And yeah, another thing that I found was really helpful in our mastermind, we reflected on 2024 and just wrote all the stuff that happened and just acknowledging, oh yeah, this happened. I forgot about that, and that happened, and that happened. And then what did I learn from that? And what am I letting go of this year? And what do I
Mm,
want more of this year? And that process has been super helpful as
yeah.
well. So, thank goodness we have end of years
I know,
to
I know.
reset.
We decided we finished our year with our little Christmas gathering, but what we did was we asked each of the ladies to just prepare like one or two sentences about what they see in each of the other women.
Oh, beautiful.
Because, we've all been in situations where we sit there and we think, oh God, they're really good at this, or something that you really like about someone. We don't often articulate it.
No.
So we're like, we've lost count of the amount of times that we've sat there and we're like, if only you could see yourself the way we see you. So we decided we would give each other this gift of, this is how I see you. And we went around in the room and, it was like the first person in the spotlight and everyone had to say their thing about the person. And, of course there were like tears and joy and all of the emotions,
That's beautiful.
but sometimes we just really need to hear it, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a beautiful exercise to do.
Mm,
And yeah, sometimes we don't realize how other people see us. And
no,
yeah.
see how good and special we are.
Hmm. Well, hopefully this has been helpful to everyone, and hopefully, everyone's got some great intentions for the year ahead, and may everyone thrive and shine and expand, but joyfully.
Yeah,
And some of us are going to continue working through difficult things as well, but
yeah,
we can do it. Mm. All right,
yes.
everyone. Well, thank you for being with us today. We will sign off and we'll be back in another 2 weeks. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye for now.